Martin Mayer, who wrote A History of Madison Avenue a long time ago and then revisited it another long time ago, made the point that, you know, the business we're in is a recipe for disaster in a lot of cases, because, you know, the people who do the stuff think they're artists and the people who judge it think they're scientists. Neither are actually either, if you come to think of it. But it is a recipe for disaster. Now, what you should take out of that is not to give up, but to say these are the difficulties and how do we overcome them. And, you know, we should be cognizant of the fact that from the beginning of the 20th century, the Newtonian model of how things work collapsed. And we're living in an area, we're not the only ones in the advertising business who are living in a world of chaos and unpredictability. So we shouldn't be too ashamed of all that. So marketing communications is an essential investment for any business. We have to get that message across, and the only way we get it across is if we can measure the effects. That's the only way people are going to believe us. Now, I'd like to look at some of the case histories that I've been looking at over the last 3 or 4 months. A critical point about marketing communication, and the easiest one to explain, and Jeremy Bullmore would be one of the better writers on the subject, is that advertising makes you famous. It's as simple as that. And fame is about the most important thing any brand can have, and I'll come back to that. When Posh Spice gave her first interview, and she wasn't used to being interviewed, some interviewer said, "What do you want to be?" And she said, "I want to be as famous as Persil Automatic." And everybody laughed. And the tabloid press had a field day. Jeremy Bullmore came to her defense. People who work in JWT in the 1960s and 70s were always gentlemen. And Jeremy said, Posh Spice is a very clever girl, because if you become as famous as Persil Automatic, you will make an awful lot of money, as much money as Unilever make out of Persil Automatic. So fame is very important. I don't think people understand why it's important or are conscious of the fact that what you're trying to do with your brands and your businesses is to make them famous. The reason why you're trying to make them famous is because most people can only judge the book by the cover nowadays. You know, we don't know what goes on inside the engine of anything anymore. So we make a deal, an unconscious deal, we buy the cover, and advertising provides the cover. And the deal is the public assume that if you're famous, you must be good. And that's reasonable, because if you're not any good, you're not going to be famous, or you're going to be infamous, which is the other way around. So that's the first point.